Okay, so the recording is on. This is Design 350. It's our lab. It's Friday the 29th at 11 o'clock, and we are on Google Meet, and we're finishing up week one of a 2 week project. And I'm doing okay on my work getting it done. I feel like I'm on task, and by the end of this recording, if you're somewhere near what I've got done, you'll be fine. You've got some good work. Next week, we're going to talk a lot more about the information that's been posted. Leah posted some excellent stuff in the discussion. JR posted some interesting stuff. I haven't checked today, but it will really help us do some of the work. So that's where we're going to go right now, unless there are some specific questions from what I've already covered. Does anybody have a specific question? Okay, well, if not, then I'm just going to show you a few things. Remember, I left off with the property of the um, proposed property, and I was actually reading some things. This will take a variance from what I read from Leah's, I think, that said the tiny home has to be. Oh, well, that would be helpful if you could see the screen. There we go. Thank you very much. Now you can see my screen blinking away there. Fix the blinking, all that kind of stuff. So there were a few things. This is more than 150 feet away from the right of way. So this would likely need a variance, but it's the type that you just write in and they would probably okay it unless it was for a reason for fire safety, in which case the fire department would have to okay it and maybe give you more information or something. But you can imagine if this is too far away and they can't get their hoses to it, that's kind of a problem. So that's probably something to do with it, and that might need to be mitigated with where this is. So that was a really interesting thing to find, although potentially repurposing this site. But our client was hoping to have this site. So that's a discussion now that has to come up. Now that I've seen that requirement, and I'm pretty sure it was from Leah's batch of work, but it could have been from RJ's, JR's. So the other thing that I did was yesterday I had these things rotated, but look, somehow you have to have an entrance to this thing, and so you'll probably have some built up work right here, which means that if you want to move the trailer while that built up work is there, it's got to go straight and then travel around. So I set it up so that the entrance can be on this side. You could do some deck work and some stairs and some things, even portable ones, but you could drive your truck in, hook it up, and then drive it forward and maneuver it onto this outside loop without disturbing these and without disturbing this too much. So, as you sit there and look at it, you get better ideas as you go. Um, and so I redid that one just, and you might too as you see that work. Um, and then we had the site plan, the topo that was existing, and we had the drainage that was existing. Now the other thing that I did was I put into the proposed one somewhere in here. I thought I had it on here. Let me see. Hold on. Where did I put it? There we go. In the site plan existing, I also noted, I got some information from the site owner that they are on a septic system and that this is where the current leach field is. My gosh, it couldn't be in a better spot because that leach field can be extended. It's on a nice pad, a nice level area. You've got a little bit of downslope, but you can put some work in here so that it doesn't get washed away. Um, it's kind of ideal. So I put that current leach field in there for the current septic system, and that's going to help us figure out what to do with the drainage. So that's just a little bit more new information for you. So now let's just start working down the site. So there's my existing site plan. Why is that one not showing? Come up here. Property lines existing. Where was that one? Oh, site plan topo. So that shows up on my site plan topo and drainage. There it is. And it's showing how this all drains down to that area. So there might be some protection needed here so you don't wash out that leach field. But it's existing and that's there already. So I think we're probably okay. And if we need a new leach field, this is on the same level and we have an opportunity to put one in for the tiny house right over here. So I could decide to put a new septic system for the tiny house right here. And it would be very similar to what's going on over here. So that's good news for my thought process. Okay, so now my next one up says Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan. And I need to go find what all I was supposed to put on there. There we go. So I'm going to come back to here and I'm going to bring up my Jamboard and find out what was on there. So what was I supposed to put on there? I'm just checking against the requirements just to make sure. Proposed site plan. You know what I haven't done? I haven't shown, I've showed the ingress and egress, but I haven't shown my basic utility hookups yet and submetering locations. So I'd better do that. That goes on my proposed site plan. So if that means I have to take care of water, electricity, and sewage. Okay? I read in the requirements that you're not allowed to use propane gas on one of these things. So no gas. Now we know that there's a water supply here somewhere. So I'm going to just note, and I don't know exactly where it is. So I'm just going to make myself a new little region and I'm going to pretend I know where it is. And what will I make that one? I'll make that an ortho hatch, vertical line, solid. I'll make these a new solid color. I'll make it solid red. And although it would be better if that was blue. So how do I change that? I edit the type and I duplicate it and call it solid blue. and I change my two patterns to a blue. Okay, and that should probably show up on there, but on my other one too, but I'm just going to put down here so I'm saying that there's an existing source, but I'm going to plan for a volume tank and a pump. So that's going to be needed, and you just plan for it. Maybe if I just put in one trailer it'll be okay, but they've only got a half-inch line there, so they're most likely going to need like a water tank, probably 200 gallons with a pump to be able to handle this. So I'm just going to say that that's there. They're going to have to put in a new utility, and I'm going to have to say how many amps there are, but this is just the site plan. So I'll make a new region, and I'm going to put it in the same little area. And this one I'll make yellow. So I'm going to have to duplicate this one too. And it's okay. These aren't going to plot great being these colors, but that'll be okay. I'm just pointing at it and I need to do something here. And I'm going to put a pad there, and I'm going to call that my electric utility pad. And that's going to be my 110 volt AC supply panel, new line from existing utility. And that just says I'm going to put something new over there. So I'm locating these things, showing where they're proposed and going to be. Now, eventually there would need to be a detail, and I'm going to move this because it's kind of in a funny spot too. Eventually, this would show up on a detail, and this would show up on a detail. And then the contractor would know what to do and how to do it. For what we're doing, we're just going to say, okay, we're going to give you some information about this, but that's where it's going to go. And then just cuz I'm going to put in a new leach field over here. And my last leach field was, I think, diagonal crosshatch. And so what we're going to do is we're going to say we're going to put in a new septic system. Okay? And that means these are all going to have to hook up somewhere. Okay, and so there's going to need to be, on each one of these, there's going to need to be a line to the septic. So I'd better put one in. And those I'll just make kind of black. And I'll go, and I'm just going to put it on one for right now to show where it's going to be. And I'm going to put it sort of near the, the front corner right over here. And it's not going to be super close. And that will be my solid black fill if I've got one. Now I'm running out of some room here, but that's okay. Okay, so each one of these is going to have a hookup, which means there's got to be some sort of pipe from these to the septic tank, and then from the septic tank to the leach field. But that lets them know, okay, I've considered water, I've considered electricity, and I've considered my septic, my sanitary discharge. Okay, does that make sense for everybody? Now I've got a real proposal that you can take. And they might ask, we need more information about your water supply. Great. You can supply that, and it's not a big deal. They just want more. They want to know about this electrical pad. Great. You just tell them about it, and it's not a problem. They may want to know, well, what's that hookup look like? Well, it's basically a pipe and a connector coming out of the ground that goes back to it. But they might want to see a detail. How high is it? What size is it? How much does it take? What kind of slope do you have? But you don't need all of that in this very first one. You need to show that you've taken care of the thought process. Okay? So now we can go on to our next one. That was finishing up the proposed site plan. So now we need the stormwater pollution prevention plan, and I was looking at those. Submetering locations, that's what we just did. Okay, if I want to, I can say that there's submetering there. And what that means is, okay, that you put a meter on this. The utility has a meter out there. And let's say you got charged for, I don't know, 10 CCF, okay, 100 cubic feet. And you don't know how much the residents took or how much this took. So if you put a little meter on this, then you can say, okay, and I'm going to charge you for the water that you used. So you can change this to be sub-metered. And you can change this to say sub-metered. And you don't really have to use that for the leach field because that's separate from the leach field for this one. So now I've talked about my sub-metering also. And it's just a way to make sure that everybody's paying their fair amount. Everybody needs to pay their fair amount based on their usage. Unless, as the owner, you just say, they can only use so much a day because I got this tank, and so I'm just going to make a fixed charge. But I like the idea of sub-metering. So now I need 2 stormwater pollution prevention plans. One during construction and one for after construction. So let's see what that means. During construction, there's going to be some work on this site and pouring this pad and putting some electrical in and putting some of this in, doing some leach field. Probably you're going to be putting in a retaining wall. I might even put that on there. Okay, the more on, and I'll put it more over to there. Okay, so there's going to be some construction, and we have to tell people, you know, what's going to be done. So I'm going to take this site plan, and I'm going to duplicate that, and this is going to be my construction. Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan, SWPPP. And that's just going to make sure that no debris, erosion, or pollution gets off-site due to construction. And off-site can get into the stormwater on the right-of-way, and you can see it could easily transfer down to the nearby properties and cause pollution problems there. So somehow you've got to be able to think about that. Okay, now there's obviously there's drainage down onto these, but you don't want additional erosion, garbage, chemicals, paint, concrete, nothing like that should come down this way. And so there's a few things that we can do. First off, we can show what areas should be undisturbed. So now I'm going to, since this is a thing, I can take off all this extra stuff, and I don't need to show the tiny houses, although I can leave them there. They're not going to hurt anything. And I'll leave these. I'll get rid of this thing that says common area. Bring this in a little closer. And I don't really need the elevations, but I'm going to leave them in there. And I just want it to be clear. Okay? And I'm sure you all recall the BMPs, best management practices. So let's talk about these a little bit. So one of the very first ones that you always deal with is the entrance and the exit. So you should always call out TC1. And that marks the entrance and the exit, and it makes it so that the mud and the debris that get picked up by any construction vehicles stays on the site wherever possible. And so we can look that up. I can look up TC-1, TC-1, and I see it's all over the place, and I can just go, here it is, TC1. Oh, that's not the next one I need. I need another one. Here it is, TC1. A defined point of entrance and exit, and it's stabilized to reduce mud and dirt getting onto the um, public roads. Okay, so what does that mean to stabilize it? Okay, be at least 50 feet long or 4 times the largest construction vehicle tire. Well, that's not going to be that big because these are mostly going to be pickup trucks and things like that. Um, so that's cool. Does it need to be graded? No, aggregate. You want to make sure that it's got some aggregate or something else. Inspection and maintenance. They got these cool little things you can put down. Okay. But you don't have to call all that out. You just have to say, I want you to do TC1 right here. And that's the beauty of that. So I'm going to make another region. I love these regions. And I'm just going to put some text there. And I don't know if I spelled stabilized right. Did I do that right or wrong? I spelled it wrong. Try to get your spelling right if you can. So there we go. That calls that out. So I always do that. Now the other thing is I want to make sure that they don't go messing around with this area over here where it's going to slope down. You know, they don't want to be dumping dirt there. They don't want to be running their tractors there. They don't want to be storing material there. And so that one, and you should become familiar with these a little bit, but let's go back up to the top and see what else there is. Um, Tracking control. There's temporary right there, preservation of existing vegetation. Whatever's there, whether it be weeds or plants or shrubs or brushes, brushwork, it's good to call out your preservation of existing um, vegetation. So they don't go dropping stuff there. So that's called SS2. SS-2. Here it is. Identify protected areas of vegetation. So look, you can see you don't want people, you know, dredging stuff up. What trees need to be protected and all that kind of stuff. So you figure out in here where you want to protect it. You don't have to get everything, right? You can store some stuff along here, particularly if you're going to maybe re-terrace this, put a nice little retaining wall in there, terrace this, maybe even put a little bit of drainage back to here to a sump where it draws down over to here. There's lots of stuff you can think about. So I'm going to do another protected thing, and I'll pick some line. I'll do some curves. Whoop, I didn't like that one. There we go. So I'm going to protect that, but now I have to finish up my region by picking some more lines to make sure it all connects up. And I remember that this has to fill it away. There we go. So now that's going to be all my SS2. And this one I'll do something different. I'll make it, let's just see how that looks. Up, I did it again over here. So I need to, did you see how it told me that I had a mistake there? There we go. And so now on here I can put SS2, preserve vegetation. So it's just saying don't go dinking with that area. And as I look at this, this isn't really all that well done, but you could do some better. There, that looks a little better. So that still gives them some room. Is this all making sense so far? How you're thinking about this? And so I want 3 or 4 things that do make sense and are important. So since this is preserved vegetation, but I can still get stuff kind of going down here, this vegetation will probably block things off, but I might want to put straw bales all around there. So let's see if there's one about that. And you know, read through these things. There it is. Straw mulch? No. Earthwork, gravel. You could straw bale barrier. That's a good one. Straw bale barriers are good, but I think there's other ones. Let's see. That's SC9. What do they look like? Now those are big straw bales. I think there's other types that I could maybe use. You could do wood mulching, earth dikes, drainage swales, outlets, slope drains, silt, fiber rolls. There we go. Fiber rolls. That's what I'm talking about. And they're cheap. You can put, so it's sediment control. And you can see, right? There's a slope and something's going to happen. So you want to just be able to catch stuff, but water can still get through. Used in conjunction with other methods. Okay, so SC5, fiber rolls. And you can just go in here and point at this line. So it's developing. And I think it's good to have maybe 3 or 4 of these. Okay? And it lets the planning department know that you're responsible. You understand that stormwater pollution prevention is important. You have a plan, and your contractors will be held to it. Okie doke. You also might put in a location for where soil might be displaced to. Because there's going to be a little bit of soil displaced here, a little bit here, a little bit here, and here. And that's not technically stormwater pollution, but let's take a look and see if it has anything about displaced soil. I'm not sure it really does. You could call it under material use. But you can actually, so it's not even really in there. So you'd be adding a separate one that would show appropriate area. uh, for earth work, removal, and reuse. So any earthwork that needs to be disposed, removed, this is where you would be doing it. Okay? So that tells them all about construction. See where that goes. Right click, duplicate, add a view. Ooh, that's a little bit too big. Doesn't need to be that big. So let me go back and now, but when I change it, remember that I'm going to change this. Is probably closer to 1 equals 100. And now a lot of this has to maybe move and change. Let's see, most of the rest of it's looking okay, but I'm going to have to make that one a little bit bigger. Make that a little bit bigger. Come on, it'll move eventually. There we go. There we go. Let's see how that looks now when I put it on my page. There's just tons of little things like this to do. That looks much better. And that'll probably allow my other one to fit on the page also. So now I need to talk about what I'm going to do post construction. What did I call that? Completed project. So we'll have a duplicate of the view with details. Save my project. And rename it. There we go. So I'm not going to leave fiber rolls along there. So I don't need that one. I don't need preserve vegetation. I don't need this thing anymore. I don't need this. Wow. Okay. So what do I need? I need to be sure. Oops, this is kind of ugly right here. I need to make sure that I really know where water is collecting and what's happening so that it's not changed too much from what's really there already. So I haven't really changed anything over here, right? So whatever is draining over here is acceptable now and will be acceptable in the future. The only thing that might be different is some drainage here because this is more compacted and this is more compacted. So I've got a very small amount that might run off into different areas. So I just want to make sure that it doesn't just cause some problems for stormwater pollution. And particularly that um, okay, no problem, Eric. Good stuff. Particularly as people drive and things happen along here, it doesn't all roll downhill and get gunky, right? So this is where you might have a drainage basin or um, something right along this curve that would help collect water and um, and just let it out more slowly, like a swale. So I look at this and I go, oh, okay, I get it. That's a cool idea. What if right along here, somewhere out where it's not too bad, I was to put a vegetated swale or a pond of some sort, but I'm going to make it a swale. Just to slow things down so that it's got a chance for anything along here to sort of get trapped a little bit. And I could make it even a little bit longer if I wanted to. And so, and that wasn't a very good choice of, so I'm going to call that out as a vegetated swale. Might be done a little bit better, but so that could be pretty good. And then, this is a leach field now, and it's plenty distance. It just has to be like 25 feet from here. But I might want to do one extra bit of work just to make sure that this, because this drainage is at a bit of a slope right along here, I might want to do a little bit of work to put a little bit of a barrier right on there. So that, yeah, it's a leach field, but I really want it to go this way and I want it to go this way. And so I'm going to just put I'm just going to put a little bit of a wall right there. And I'm just going to make it a cool retention wall. And it's basically a flow diverter. So this little corner right here is somewhat protected. So as this thing leaches, it'll try to go down this long slope rather than going down this heavy slope here. So I think that's enough. If you have one or two things, just to think about slowing it down so that in a heavy rain you don't inundate here. This is probably another spot that could use a flow diverter and retention wall. So the idea is to move it from a very steep area to one of the slower areas. And if we can, get a bunch of it to go into this swale. As a matter of fact, this would really be cool if we were able to move that more so that it diverts it down to this swale. There we go. All right. So that's a proposed thing, and it's just thinking about water and protecting your neighbors from anything that's new due to this. They're already fine with what's going on. But anything from this, especially what if somebody had a spill here, right? You know, they were painting or something like that. Or um, their this connection went wrong and their sewage spilled on the ground and they got 25 gallons of sewage on the ground. You don't want it to go down to your neighbors. You want to get it caught on a swale to help out. So that one now goes to here. And I remembered I needed to pull that one in on the other one. I need to do the same thing where this goes up a little bit and it's hard to get a hold of these sometimes. There we go. Pull that one in and something went wrong here. What did I do? What did I do there? I obviously copied that more than once. Okay, so now you've got, and this is a little bit ugly here, so I'd have to go fix those, right? I can see I've got a little bit of ugly right here, right here, but overall it's looking pretty good. I have a little bit of work to clean this up, but now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 of my views are done. And they're the more complex, harder ones. Okay? Let me go over detail sheet really quick. Floor plan, that should be easy. Trailer plan, what I want to do is talk to you about the foundation plan. Got a question?
I do. So as far as like the detail plan and the foundation plan, is that something that like do we find that somewhere or we just create our own?
You're going to find it, and I'm going to show it to you
Okay.
how I found it. Here we go. So, so I did, well, first of all, tiny house floor plan, just go find one, right? That's easy. Your plumbing plan, I'll show you too later on. But then you can do tiny house anchor, and you can even call it a wind anchor, and let's just see what comes up. Also, so this is a really nice, easy one to get to. It shows you how to anchor your house, tiny house. That's really cool, right? So there's a good one. Um, there's a couple more that are in here. Here's another really nice one. Let me see if it's in here. Right there. It's the foundation plan and where you put it. Right, and it shows you, okay, there's your solid blocking, there's your trailer. You need some sort of a bracket, and you need this thing in the ground that you can tie down to. So that's a cool way of doing it. And it really shows, right? One, two, five, six of them. Because, you get much of a wind, there's nothing holding this thing down. So that's an important aspect. So you just go tiny house wind anchor and you find some stuff and trace one. Here's one that you can trace. It goes into it and you can make your own. So, strapping. Here's one that says how to tie it down. This one's like a super easy one, right? You can draw something like this, but there it is. You could put that in and trace it. Okay, and it's very similar to that other one, right? And this would just go into the bottom of your trailer. So in your trailer, you would make sure that you had a place to bolt a bracket that you could bolt, set this down, bolt it in up at the top, bolt it into a little piece of concrete in the ground that's in there, and then your tiny house will be safe from the wind trying to blow it over. And you want to think about things, well, can I disconnect it? Undo some bolts and drive your tiny house off, right? So it's an important aspect that gets forgotten sometimes. So,
So
so maybe you want to do this one. Take your snip, put it into the detail view, and trace it.
okay, so you would do that on for the foundation view and the plumbing plan
Yep,
and then on the detail sheet as well. So
these
you
are
would
all
do
just
one.
tracings.
Okay, and then you would show one from like the top view
Uh huh.
or
Like
an
your,
ortho view.
yeah, like your trailer plan, you would take from this one. Which one was it? There, right there. There's
That
your,
one, perfect.
so this top one is the trailer plan, and
Okay.
this becomes your foundation plan. And you could add this in also, both of these together could be your foundation plan, right? So there's your trailer plan, foundation plan. That's really a great one. So let me put that, where am I going to put that? Where you can get to this. Maybe I'll just take that image and put that in the resource folder, right?
That would be good.
I'm just trying to find my resource folder now. Here we go. So I have put that one in the resource folder, weekly resources, project one. I think I have it as a snip and have to save it. Trailer and foundation plan. Okay, that one's in there now. So,
Awesome. Thank you.
so there you go. So that's just tracing. That won't take too long. You could do it in AutoCAD and bring it in AutoCAD if you feel like it, if that's easier for you, right? But that takes care of trailer plan, foundation plan, and I'll show you the plumbing plan later. That's like super simple. But you can also just look that one up too. but
Okay.
I'll show you that one. I'll show you that one. I think if you've got this stuff done that I've showed in these, you're in great shape and will be excellent.
Okay.
Especially because you did so much work. The intent letter is going to be very simple. The compliance ones are going to be very simple. Um, just because the background data is there.
Okay. Awesome.
The research was awesome.
So
Okay?
basically this week has like most of the drawings and most of like the main work,
Right.
and the next week should be more of like the simple work and like the letters and the
Yep.
proposed plans.
Yep.
Okay.
Cool.
Awesome. Cool.
Okay. Then I'm going to stop the recording